So welcome everybody. As always, before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to elders past, present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining today. For those that I haven't met, my name is Bree. I'm joining today from the land of the Murrumbidgee people of the Yuin Nation. And we do encourage you to share in the chat if you do know what lands you're joining from. But welcome to our online info sessions. These short webinars will feature speakers sharing valuable insights into services and supports for your child and family. Today, we're very lucky to be joined by Ella from Wellways Carer Gateway. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is actually our first info session, so you should feel extra special.
Oh, no pressure.
But before I do hand it over to Ella, I'd like to cover just a little bit of housekeeping to ensure that you get the most out of today's session. We're hoping this will run for approximately 15 to 30 minutes. We know how busy you guys are, but please note that this session is being recorded. So all registered participants will receive a link to the recording in the next few days. And also Ella's kindly agreed to share her presentation slides as well along with that, and her contact details for anyone that might be in the area that Ella actually services. To ensure a smooth experience for everyone, for technical support, if you just want to use the chat function, that's probably the best way. For questions about the content, please use the Q&A box. We will endeavour to address these questions at the end of the session, obviously if time is permitting. Just a little note about privacy. So as I've mentioned, this session is being recorded for future viewing. So please be mindful when you're asking those questions or engaging in the chat. And if you can please refrain from taking screenshots or making your own recordings without permission. And with all that said, I'm going to hand you over to Ella to introduce the Carer Gateway and how you can utilise this support for yourself to ensure that you can maintain your caring role. So over to you, Ella.
Thank you, Bree. If you could help me monitor the Q&A box, just shout out if there's any questions I should answer along the way.
I
That would
will.
be great. Uh, can you guys see my screen?
We can.
Okay, so thank you for the warm introduction. I'm Ella. I'm from Wellways Carer Gateway. We provide free support services to anyone who's caring for a family member or a friend with disability, chronic health conditions, mental health concerns, or frailty due to age. So I hope this information session is useful to you all. And if anyone has questions, feel free to let me know. Or if you want to talk about something specific, my contact details will be at the end of this presentation and you can reach out to me privately if you'd like to. Just echoing Bree's acknowledgement of country, I'm joining from Yugara and Turrbal Land in Brisbane today. So I'll just read what Wellways has written for us. Wellways acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional custodians of the land on which we work. We value and respect the ongoing contribution of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and acknowledge an age-old culture of ceremony and celebration, initiation and renewal, and that this living and rich culture has a unique role in the life of our communities. Wellways works to build strong and meaningful relationships with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and communities. So I'm going to talk about 4 things today. The first one is just a really quick, what is Carer Gateway? Then
Well, I think Ella's cutting out a little bit. We'll see if we can get her back.
okay, so really
Ella,
quickly.
Ella, you just cut out then. So we missed everything you just said on that first slide. Well, I did, so I'm assuming everybody else did.
Oh no, can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I should repeat the overview.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So I'm only going to talk about 4 things, keep it nice and short. I'll do a quick what is Carer Gateway, and then we'll spend a bit of time talking about who is a carer, because not everybody identifies themselves as a carer, but this is just a word we use.
We might need to get Ella to turn her camera off, which might help with her internet connection when she comes back on. We lost you again then, Ella.
Oh
I'm just
no.
wondering, do you want to just turn your camera off and see if that helps with your internet connection? Because sometimes
Yeah,
it does, but we did get up to talking about who was a carer and then you cut out again.
sorry about that. Should I stop and check my internet connection?
If you want, or I'd probably just try maybe turning your camera off because sometimes that
Okay.
because it's trying to do too much.
Okay, I'll stop my video.
It's a great day for technology.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Please be patient with us, everyone that's watching. We will get it under control.
Yeah, that was really good when you were telling me about the technical issues though, Bree. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll try one more time. Um, all good?
Just, yep, if you want to keep going and I'll let you know if it
Okay,
changes.
thank you. So yeah, you can see on the board the rest that I'll talk about today. Um,
So far, so good.
okay,
Still hear you.
so Carer Gateway is an Australian government initiative connecting unpaid carers with free local services and supports. So I like to think about it as a navigation service and also a service provider. In Queensland and southwest Sydney and the Nepean Blue Mountains, Wellways is the organisation that provides Carer Gateway services. And the organisation that provides these services will be different in different regions across Australia. So today I'm coming to you from Wellways. And just to illustrate that, I've got this slide. So Carer Gateway is the federal government. Our funding comes from the federal government Department of Social Services. And in Queensland and Southwest Sydney, Wellways is the company that provides these services. In other regions, it will be other organisations. And for certain demographics and areas, we also partner with smaller organisations to help us deliver the best service possible. And you can see some of our main partners at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so this is probably the most important message for today. For anybody that doesn't know, we work only with carers, and this is our only definition of who a carer is. So, a carer is someone who gives unpaid care and support to a relative or friend who has a disability, experiences mental illness, has a chronic health condition or a terminal illness, or is frail due to age. So, by unpaid care, I mean that it is not your employment. You're not a professional support worker. You are a family member looking after a family member or a friend looking after somebody that you care about in your personal life for, like, not for employment. And this can really be anybody. So, I'm going to spend a little bit of time laboring on who is a carer just now. So, carers help family members or friends with things like administering medicine, emotional support, grocery shopping and preparing meals, personal care, and sometimes also finances. Every carer looks different, every caring role is unique. And so, if you're a carer, you may do all of these things for someone in your life, or you may just do one of them or a few of them. It doesn't matter what your caring role looks like in terms of accessing Carer Gateway. All that matters is that you recognize that you're supporting someone in your life in an important way, and we're here to support you as a carer. I was going to play a video today, but I couldn't get the sound to work, everyone. Sorry about that. Um, so I'll share the slides at the end of this presentation, and I've just got here a story from a lady named Crystal who worked with us. She's a carer for, she has 7 children, and 6 of them have a disability. She has children who experience physical disability and also intellectual disability. And she spends her days preparing their meals, coordinating their support, all of the things that a parent of a child with disability would do regularly. But she also has her own life and her own goals for herself personally. And one of hers is that she's studying a Bachelor of Nursing. And she talks about in the video how it's difficult to find time around her caring role for these other things that are also a huge priority. And it's a great illustration of some of the things that we do. We want to help carers feel confident in their caring role so that they still have time for other things that are important to them. And one of the reasons we do that is because of carer burnout. Because if a carer dedicates all of their time and energy to their caring role and doesn't have the chance to prioritize their own well-being, they can burn out very easily. And unfortunately, we see this a lot. So we try and encourage everybody to stop and look after yourself. And if there's anything you need support with, speak up and see if there's a way that Carer Gateway or someone else can help you. So yes, please check out the video later if you feel like it.
Ella, I might just give you a break for a moment because we do have a question that has come through already, just so you
Thank you.
catch your breath. But is there a minimum age for a child to who you can care for to be eligible for the Carer Gateway?
There's no minimum age. Thank
Amazing.
you for the question. It actually ties in really nicely to this next slide, which is about the popular myths,
Mhm.
debunking some of the questions around eligibility and stuff like that. My overall message is that we work with all carers. That is the only thing we consider. So if you are a carer or you think you might be, I encourage you to reach out because there's probably something we can do. But I'll just quickly go through these as well, which might answer some other questions. Please continue to speak up though if I have missed anything. Okay, so the first one on the left-hand side is a myth that comes up quite a lot um, in different people's lives. You can see the man saying, if I seek help, I'm admitting I can't cope. Everyone wants to feel like they're coping well and able to manage everything on their plate, but the fact of the matter is that carers do things on top of the responsibilities that most people have in their everyday lives. And it's okay to seek support with that. We don't want people to push themselves to the point of burnout because they're worried about seeking support. The second myth is a woman saying, the person I support is not related to me. This doesn't matter for Carer Gateway. If you're caring for a friend or a neighbor who's not a relative, you can still receive support in your caring role so that you can keep doing that. The third one is a woman saying, it's my family obligation. I shouldn't be seeking assistance. Um, I'm not here to force anybody to use Carer Gateway. It's every individual's choice. But once again, it can be really beneficial to ask for help when you need it. And so things like family obligation, we try to minimize that barrier. We want you to focus on all of the good things of your family life and not be weighed down by the challenges that come with that. So please seek support, even if it's for a family dynamic that's common for everybody. The middle one is a child. She says, I'm a kid, aren't I too young for Carer Gateway? And this is the answer to that question is no. We work with carers of any age, usually from 5 years old. So this is particularly relevant if there is a family where one child in the family has a diagnosis and the other child does not. Sometimes the second child really does help out the first one in a way that not every kid would. And we can work with the second child as a young carer in that situation. The fifth one is a man saying, I can't get more help because I already get government support. This is a myth. Things like NDIS are a government funded support service. That, that particular example, NDIS, is for people living with a disability, and Care Gateway is for the carers, the family and friends of a person living with disability. So you can access it in addition to your family members' support services, and you can also access it in addition to your own support services. So if you as a carer already receive support from NDIS or Centrelink payments, or if you're on My Aged Care or anything like that, you can also access Carer Gateway because the things you do as a carer are on top of what other people might have on their plate. The second last one says, I only provide care some of the time. And that's a situation that comes up quite frequently in my work. So I just want to reiterate to people whether you are a full-time carer living with the person you care for and providing for them 24/7, or you maybe check in with a family member once a month. Maybe you travel to visit them. Maybe it's like a elderly parent and you only see them every second week or something. That's okay. If you're a carer and you need support, we're here for you. And then the last one says, I live too far away to access services, and I'm here to tell you that Care Gateway is nationwide. Anybody living in Australia, regardless of whether they're a permanent resident or a citizen or on a different visa, they can access Care Gateway if they're living in Australia in any region. Obviously, there's some barriers in remote areas, but we do everything we can to get services, in-person services when required, to every location. Have Has that slide brought up any questions, Bree?
It has. I've got a question that says, what type of support does Carer Gateway offer to a 5-year-old? I've been told a young carer must be 12 years to 25 years old.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Thank you for sharing that one. I can only speak from my work at Wellways Care Gateway. So in our training, we're told that there's no official age limit. We usually work with carers from 5 years old because like communication becomes easier at that age, but we're able to consider every situation as it pops up. The supports that we provide, I'll talk about them more on the next slide, but we do have counselling for young carers. We also partner with an organization called Little Dreamers, and they have, you might know them, you might not. They have like experiences that young carers can access, things that they might not have the chance to do otherwise. And there are, particularly online, there are a lot of maybe that's more relevant for the older children than the 5-year-old, but there are online support groups and courses and things that are tailored for younger people. Um,
I'm happy to jump in there as well and share a little bit of my family's experience. So my
Thank
daughter
you.
just turned 12, but she's been accessing the Carer Gateway and Little Dreamers services for a number of years. We first accessed the Carer Gateway, I think she might have been in year 2, just with some financial support around replacing an iPad that her brother accidentally smashed, and she was really into being creative and making all these artworks on it. So that we were very fortunate to have some support around that. And we've also connected with Little Dreamers. So she's been to some holiday workshops, and has attended one or two of their online groups. And she's only just turned 12, and that's been happening for a number of years.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Brie. That's a beautiful story. I'm glad that she's had these experiences so far.
Yeah. And it
Was it
was
and
and it was really beneficial too, because we were seeing a little bit of resentment towards her brother. But once we did acknowledge that she does have a caring role and that she does go above and beyond what a typical sibling relation was, it actually was quite validating for her. And it's definitely improved. And there's definitely less resentment towards some of the things that she does help out with.
Wonderful. Shall I talk about the services now?
I think so.
Okay, so I've just got this one slide to give you an idea of the services and supports that you can access for free. This is not to say that this is a comprehensive list. Every carer situation is unique. And if there is something that you need support with, even if you think there's no one that can help, I encourage you to contact us and ask, because we might be able to help work towards a solution, whatever the situation. But just to give you an idea, I'll go through the list. So what services are available through Carer Gateway? The first one is always carer support planning. So when a carer registers with us, we have an appointment with them where we sit down and gain an understanding of their specific caring role and help them like identify the services that are going to be most useful in their situation. Those services might include counselling or in-person peer support groups or coaching. These are our three probably biggest services. So counseling, you will have usually 6 free sessions available to you. In-person peer support, um, there's not really any limit on how many groups you can join, but these are our group-based activities for carers. So it's a space that you can talk to other people that are living a similar experience to you as a carer, share what's going on in your life, and maybe get advice from others. And it's a facilitated setting. So you'll have one of our staff members, just checking in with everyone, making sure everyone's all right. And then also, usually, there's a fun activity at the end. These are available both online and in person. And I've seen groups that include everything from a choir through to like weaving or nature walks, or even just like a simple coffee catch up. And they can be really good places for carers to find support. Facilitated coaching is a little bit harder to explain, but our coaches are staff members who have lived experience as a carer. Chances are they have inside knowledge of what it's like to go through a situation that you might be experiencing, and they can share that with you and help you like find your way through any practical difficulties at the moment. I've had carers request coaching for everything from like prioritizing self-care and making like a routine for themselves that they can actually achieve, to much more challenging, much more serious things like applying for the Centrelink Carers payment, and like they need help to like read through the forms and submit everything according to the instructions and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I've had carers request coaching for all types of things. Um, so yeah, it's not specifically like education, but it is like a one-on-one setting where you can get guidance about a practical goal that you want to achieve. The one below coaching is aged care navigation, and that's quite similar, except it's with a staff member who is very knowledgeable about the My Aged Care space. And that service is for carers or care recipients over 65 or over 50 for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. The second last one is our tailored support packages, and this encompasses the kinds of like funded support or financial assistance that we can provide. Tailored support packages are approved on a case-by-case basis, so I can't give you like an exact list of what you might be able to get. But to give you an idea, a lot of carers need help to make a purchase or employ someone to help them in their caring role. And if they come to us and say, I really, really need this one thing, I can't afford it on my own, and it will make a huge difference to my life as a carer, then we can consider that request and hopefully fund some or all of it for them. But yeah, I just have to disclaim for everyone that is approved on case by case. So I encourage everybody to ask for the support that you need, and then we'll take it from there. The last one on the list and the last thing I'll talk about is our emergency respite service. So this is kind of like a navigation service, and it's for those situations where something unexpected has happened and you can't be the usual carer that you would normally be. The most generic example is like a carer finds themselves in a situation where they have to go to hospital like for their own medical treatment, but they know in the back of their mind that someone's waiting for them at home, someone that really needs them. And the situation we're trying to avoid is the carer overlooking their own medical needs in order to be there for the other person, because that's not a sustainable situation and it can be quite a dangerous situation as well. So we have this emergency respite service where once you've called 000 and attended to like the immediate medical danger, whatever it is, you can call Care Gateway and explain, like, there's someone that I usually care for that needs me, but I can't do it right now. Please, can you help? And what we then do is, like, with your permission, with your information, we find a service provider, like a trained service provider that can do whatever you need them to do, whether it's administer medication at home or drive your loved one to you so that you can be with them while you get your treatment. The exact situation depends on what's happening during this emergency, but we can help you like call 20, 30 different people and find the provider that can do it on short notice. And also we can fund some or all of that service in emergency situations only. And yes, that emergency respite service, it's a phone service. It's just our typical 1-800 number, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
We have just had a question around the emergency respite, and you kind of
Thank
just
you.
explained a little bit about what it looks like. But this particular question comes around that they know someone that was told that there's actually a 6-week wait list to get a call back to discuss their needs. So if you are calling for that emergency respite, like what generally is like, how do you kind of emphasize the urgency of it?
Yep.
And would that just kind of depend, I guess, as well on who's delivering the carer gateway in those areas, that there could be a bit of a backlog?
There could be some like differences in wait times in different areas, but I can only tell you what I know.
Yeah,
And it is a really good question, so thank you whoever asked that. So our emergency respite team is like working 24 hours a day, as I said, and a carer will usually call them on the phone, or like they'll call Carer Gateway, and our intake team will identify that this is an emergency.
yeah,
There is like a bit of consideration around like the type of emergency and how quickly action is needed, that sort of thing.
absolutely.
So, like medical emergencies might need attention very quickly. Carer burnout, it can also be an emergency if it is like if someone's like in a crisis. But the kind of help that is required in that situation, it might take longer. Um, but our team will assess what's going on and, when required, escalate the case to emergency status. And then you'll have someone in contact. In my organization, someone will be in contact with you within a few hours. Sometimes I've heard it can take like if you needed like a bed in a residential respite facility for your care recipient, I've heard that it can take like 24, 48 hours. Um, just like
Yeah,
anecdotally, I've heard that. I wish I could tell you exact things, but basically the way the service works is a carer contacts us and is escalated to emergency status, and we work behind the scenes to navigate their need. So we like call around and find a service provider, and once we've found one, we report back to the carer for the next step. And all of this can take time.
yeah. And I imagine too that would be what area you're in, what services are available, are you regional,
Mm,
remote, what
mm,
placements there are. So yeah, I can imagine that there is a little bit of a time lag when you're organizing those type of services. But good to know. And I suppose for any family that does get that, it's going to take 6 weeks, just call back. Keep calling.
yeah, that's great advice. Thanks, Bree. I hope that answers the question though. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was how to register. Um, so you'll see on the screen the purple dots where this sort of graph thing starts. And that's just the contact phase. Our 1-800 number is there. People can ring us, or if you meet someone like me in person, that's a great first point of contact as well. And usually from there, we'll arrange a registration or take your details. The only case where that doesn't happen is in an emergency where action needs to be taken much faster. And so in that case, we'll escalate you to emergency respite. But more usually, we'll do a quick registration, like phone number, address, that sort of thing. And then we have an appointment where we do a carer conversation. This usually takes about like 30 minutes to an hour. And it's just a chance for us to get to know you and understand your needs. Based on the carer conversation, we'll do some planning together, including like a timeline of when stuff will happen. And then, according to that plan, we connect you with the supports that you want. Ideally, everything gets done in that first planning conversation, and a carer, has a new support network and they're happy with the services that they're receiving. But that's not going to be the case for everything for everyone, and sometimes things change. So we always have a check-in conversation after about 12 weeks. And during that time, carers have the opportunity to speak up and say if they need more services or if they like what they need in the future. And then the cycle sort of repeats like that. So yeah, if anyone would like to register today, you can call us, or these are my contact details on the screen, which I've told Bree she's welcome to share with anybody.
And
And
just
yeah,
for clarity, you're in the Brisbane, you personally are in the Brisbane area, is that right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm in Brisbane. I service all of Southeast Queensland, so everything from Gold Coast to Caboolture.
Yeah.
If you are in that region and you would like to meet me, I would be more than happy to organize an in-person meeting. And if you're outside of that region, I encourage you to call the 1-800 number, 1-800 422 737, and you'll be connected with like the closest person to you. Or you can still shoot me an email if you want, and I'll try and help you find the right one.
You just skip past the slide, and Morgan in the chat has seen it. She would like to know what the task is that just came up on the slide before.
There we go. Thank you for bringing that back. I knew we were running a bit over time, so I just thought I would zoom past it, but I'm happy to talk about the podcast.
Please do.
So our wonderful marketing team, I think they're down in Victoria. They did this podcast series last year about like different carers' stories, and it's a really nice little series where you can hear what some other people are going through and what they've done. And there are many ways to know that we're not alone out there, but sometimes it's just nice to hear it in a podcast. So that's what our Tune Into Care is. And they just released season 2 in October on in during National Carers Week in October. So season 2 is available to you as well, and that's the QR code. But if you just Google like Tune Into Care Wellways, it should come up.
And I will share the slides as well. So you'll actually have this slide where you can use the QR code to access it.
Yeah.
Ella, maybe if you stop sharing your slides, you might be able to turn your camera on for this last moment. I'm sorry for anyone that did join late and wondered why Ella's camera wasn't on. We were having a little bit of an internet issue and that did resolve it. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing that valuable information. I know that hopefully after today, there will be quite a few people calling the Carer Gateway and accessing those services. Thank you to
Wonderful.
everyone that's attended and for those great questions. They do really make the sessions more valuable to everybody because sometimes when someone asks a question, someone else is thinking it. So
Mm.
in the coming days, anyone that's registered will receive an email containing a link to today's session recording, Ella's presentation slides, any additional resources that we've mentioned. I might share some links to sort of the Little Dreamers and whatnot, so you can actually have a look at some of the programs that they have. Obviously, Ella's contact details for anyone that is in Southeast Queensland. And as always, ways that you can connect with us at Kindred and continue the conversation. We do have a lot of events up. If I sat here and spoke about all our events that were coming up, I'd keep you for another half an hour. So I will make sure we share a link to our event page. But our next info session is next week, and we're going to be joined by Deborah from NOAA's, and she's a experienced My Time facilitator. So we're just going to be talking about the My Time program and what to expect in a session, whether you go to a face-to-face one or an online one. But I hope you all have a really lovely day. Ella, it's been great to connect, and I really look forward to hearing from you again in the future. Yes,
Thank you so much for having me, Bree. It's great, great session to be part of.
wonderful. All right, well, happy Wednesday, everyone. There's a few thank yous coming through in the chat, so I'm sure there'll be a few phone calls to the Carer Gateway. Wonderful. Have a great day, Ella.